1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 1 to 11. Brothers, I could not address you as spiritual, but as worldly, mere infants in Christ. I gave you milk, not solid food, for you were not yet ready for it. Indeed, you are still not ready. You are still worldly. For since there's jealousy and quarreling among you, are you not worldly? Are you not acting like mere men? For when one says, I follow Paul, and another, I follow Apollos, are you not mere men? What, after all, is Apollos, and what is Paul? Only servants, through whom you came to believe, as the Lord has assigned to each his task. I planted the seed, Apollos watered it, but God made it grow. So, neither he who plants nor he who waters is anything, but only God who makes things grow. The man who plants and the man who waters have one purpose, and each will be rewarded according to his own labor. For we are God's fellow workers. You are God's field, God's building. By the grace God has given me, I laid a foundation as an expert builder, and someone else is building on it. But each one should be careful how he builds. For no one can lay any foundation other than the one already laid, which is Jesus Christ. This is the word of the Lord.
Good morning, everybody. It's really great to be here with you this morning to come and unpack some of the words that we have just heard read wonderfully to us and to share a little bit about the work of Operation Christmas Child. And it's been great to get to know some of the leaders of your church recently. My role at Operation Christmas Child, for those that might be interested, I'm the regional manager across the south, part of a small staff team. And really, we are here to enable people to be packing shoeboxes here in the UK and equipping the local church around the world to be able to give out shoebox gifts, share God's love with children around this world. And I'm particularly pleased to be here to share with you this morning as Harvest is being celebrated, and as you've been focusing this term on your theme, Choose Life, looking today at the God who provides it all. So as we look in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, Paul's first letter to the church in Corinth, we are seeing how Paul is writing to share a number of things that are relevant to the church there, that are relevant to us today, and hopefully as well this morning I'll be able to unpack how that works in the context of Operation Christmas Child as well. So let's look a little bit about what Paul is saying in this first letter. What is he writing in these verses that we have read? I think the first thing that I notice as we are looking at these verses that he starts by being quite forceful to the church. He starts by telling them off. He tells them that they are behaving like children, that they're being jealous and they're arguing with each other. But the main thing that he is telling them off for is for going to different people for leadership, depending on what it is that they want. I wonder, are there any children here this morning who might be prepared to admit that there are some times that when you would like something, you go and ask a grown-up for something, and that if you don't get the answer you want, you go to another grown-up to ask the very same question in the hope that you get a different answer? Are there any children here who are prepared to admit that that is something you do? Excellent. Well done. We had nobody prepared to admit that in our first service this morning, so well done for your honesty here this morning. Grown-ups, similar question. Have there been times when a child has come to ask you a question, not liked the answer they got, and gone to ask another grown-up the same question in the hope of getting a different answer? Show of hands, any grown-ups experienced that? Far more hands going up around. Wonderful, thank you. This happens in my house quite often. There are many times when my young daughters will ask a question of me, to which my natural response is, what did mummy say? Because I am not going to contradict what mummy has already said. And I think the reality is that we all want to be told that we can have what we want. We want to take direction from someone who tells us what we want to hear. It was the same for the people of the church in Corinth that Paul was writing to. They kept looking to different people based upon what it was that they wanted. And this is why Paul was telling them off for behaving like children. What is far more important, though, than the people who we might choose to look to for leadership, what's really important is that it's not the people who are with leadership positions, but that God is in charge. Paul says that he and Apollos are just servants of the Lord. They both have a task to do in the church, but what they do or say is nowhere near as important as what God is doing among them. It is God who provides all that the church needs for them to be healthy and to grow. Let me reread for us verses 6 through 8 that highlights exactly this. I, and this is Paul that's speaking, I planted the seed, Apollos watered it, but God has been making it grow. So neither the one who plants nor the one who waters is anything, but only God who makes things grow. The one who plants and the one who waters have one purpose, and they will each be rewarded according to their own labor. So the key point is that it is God who makes things grow. And every one of us has a purpose and a part to play in what God is calling us to do. And when we look at this, we could think about this as someone planting some actual seeds, like sunflower seeds. We plant them, we water them, and then we delight when God makes them grow. We could also think about the growth of a brand new believer in Jesus. We might plant a seed in their heart when we tell them about how awesome God is and what Jesus did for us on the cross to show us that he loves us. In this situation, it is God who opens the eyes of their heart and will enable them to grow into a new life with Christ. And one final example that I'd like to share about how each of us can play our part and watch God do his thing, and the main reason why it's myself here this morning sharing, is to share how this works in the context of Operation Christmas Child with shoebox gifts. Packing shoeboxes is something that we all get to play a part in. It's a fun part, choosing what we might like to buy to pack into our shoeboxes. What toy might be the best toy to choose, but make sure it's not too big so that it actually still fits into the shoebox. Many other decisions and choices about what would be a great gift to pack in our shoebox. We take our small girls with us when we go shopping and think, what would you like to receive if you were receiving a shoebox? Making sure that we're putting some excellent gifts in. And God uses our lovingly packed shoeboxes to share his love with children all around this world. And there are so many people who each play their part in getting shoebox gifts to children in lots of different countries around this world. It starts here in this country in the UK with tens upon thousands of people packing shoebox gifts. Before they are dropped off at over 1,000 locations across this country in the middle of November. We have a team of over 100 volunteers who are actively promoting the project of Operation Christmas Child around the year. We have thousands of volunteers who come along to one of our shoebox processing centres who look inside every shoebox that has been packed to make sure there's nothing in there that people have been asked to not put in. Seal them up with a custom seal, load them up, and then say goodbye to them as they leave the UK on a lorry or on a container. And around the world, we partner with more than 75,000 local churches who distribute about 10 million shoeboxes every single year. And each of those churches is supported by volunteer teams, regional teams, national teams in each of the countries where shoebox gifts are sent. And this is all coordinated by a relatively tiny staff team internationally. And at this point I take breath because that's quite a long list of a lot of people doing a lot of different things in a lot of different places. I get confused when I look at all the details of this myself, and I'm the one who's supposed to know all about it. But the important part is not to know everything, but to trust that God knows everything, and that he will bless and show love to every child who receives a shoebox gift. And when shoebox gifts are given, whenever it's safe to do so, children are told that there is a God in heaven who loves them and who sent his son to this earth as a demonstration of that love. Each shoebox gift that is packed, like the ones that you and I will be packing later this year, is a seed that's being planted for a child to hear about God's amazing love for them. And God grows that seed when millions of children every single year make a decision in their own heart to accept Jesus for themselves. In my role, I'm incredibly privileged to hear story after story of God's hand at work and of the things that happen that can only be explained by saying, that's God's handiwork. The only way that thing happened is because God made it happen. So I'd like to share a story with you now, a video of one example of how God used a shoebox gift to bring about a change that could only be described as God being intimately involved in bringing the right shoebox to the right child at the right time. So let's watch Dania's story together now.
My name is Dania. I was born in the Middle East. I was raised in a Christian family. Growing up, my parents taught me Christian principles and shared with me the importance and power of prayer. They taught me that God can answer prayers regardless of our situation. It was not easy growing up in the Middle East as Christians. The majority of people there did not believe in Jesus and were not accepting of Christianity. But my parents were always there for me and supported me. We lived in severe poverty. I remember so many nights when I had to go to bed hungry. Everything I owned had been passed down to me from other people. I remember feeling like I was missing something, feeling like I did not have the same things that the other kids have. I told my mom, I wish I could have new things that the other children. I wish that I could have something that I could call my own. My mom encouraged me to pray. She said, Dania, I know your dad and I cannot provide for you, but ask God for anything. If he sees that it's good for you and you really need it, he will give it to you. So I began to pray every night before I went to bed. I asked the Lord to fulfill all my needs and to send me something that I could call my own. And at the same time, as a family, we prayed for a radio. We could not afford to buy a radio, but we wanted to be able to listen to the news and learn about what's going on in the world. One day, I went to my Sunday school class, and the teacher said, "Today you are going to get a gift." I remember the moment when they called the first child's name and pulled out a shoebox and handed it to the child. It was a beautifully wrapped box. Finally, my name was called, and it felt like my heart stopped. I was just shaking with excitement. The smile was all over my face. The joy was filling my heart. I wanted to open the gift right there, but my mom didn't want me to lose the shoebox items. So my brother and I ran home, and we dashed up the stairs and rushed into our bare, empty room. All four of us sat on the floor. As I opened the lid and looked inside the shoebox, I was just so shocked and surprised. Everything in my shoebox was brand new. At that moment, it hit me. We were experiencing the answer to our prayers. But inside the shoebox was another surprise for our family. My dad pulled the item all the way out of the box and held it in his hand for everyone to see. We were all shocked. What we found inside that box was a real radio. We knew God answered our prayers. For that shoebox to come specifically to our family to answer our specific prayer request, we knew that was only possible through the divine orchestration of our amazing God. He used a simple shoebox to not only answer my prayers, but the prayers of my entire family. Several years after I received my shoebox, it became very dangerous for us to live in a country because we were Christians. We had to flee and leave almost everything behind, including all my shoebox items. The memories and the joy are still with me, and they will forever be in my heart. Every time I speak about receiving my shoebox, the same excitement comes back to me. That gift planted great joy in my heart and allowed me to experience His love in a new way. So, I want to thank every one of you for sharing His love with children like me all around the world by packing a shoebox gift.
In all the years that I've been involved, I have never seen anybody packing a radio in a shoebox. But that is what that girl, Dania, and her family had been praying for. And that is how God answered their prayers. It's amazing how God answers our prayers and grows the seeds that we plant when we pack Operation Christmas Child shoeboxes. And packing shoeboxes is just one way to get involved. Another way that you might be interested in getting involved is to join the hundreds of volunteers who come along to one of our shoebox processing centres in late November and early in December. Over a period of 4 weeks, anyone is invited to come and join us as we check inside the shoeboxes that have been lovingly packed here in the UK and prepare them to be exported from the UK and sent to another country around this world. It really is a wonderful experience to be a part of, and many people feel quite an emotional tug when they get to be involved in what God is doing in this way. The closest processing centre to Wallington is in Tunbridge in Kent, and bookings are already open on our website for anybody who might like to come and join us for this family-friendly, fun and free activity. And at Samaritan's Purse, we are so grateful for the partnership of Holy Trinity Wallington, both through Operation Christmas Child and in other ways, like your support of Stephen running the London Marathon today for Samaritan's Purse. And there are so many ways that we respond at Samaritan's Purse when disaster strikes. And often it is Operation Christmas Child that opens the door to be able to respond in such circumstances. Before the war broke out in Ukraine back on the 24th of February this year, we had been partnering with 3,200 churches right across Ukraine who had, until that point, been giving out Operation Christmas Child shoeboxes. Ukraine is a country that's had a deep partnership with Samaritan's Purse over the years. In fact, Ukraine has received more shoeboxes since we began compared to any other country in Europe. So we have a deep partnership. And it's these same churches in Ukraine that have been responding to what has been happening in Ukraine. As we have been coming alongside them, we have brought alongside the churches our emergency field hospitals. We deployed the first one in Lviv in western Ukraine right at the start of this conflict. As the conflict has moved on, our support has developed as the situation has developed. Since that point, we've been able to provide medical supplies, which the hospitals in Ukraine have been unable to access. We've been able to provide a very substantial amount of food when food was scarce to get hold of as well in Ukraine. And right now, as I speak to you here this morning, we are redeploying an emergency field hospital into recently liberated parts of Ukraine. So the work continues to this day and will continue to take place for some time. And if that wasn't enough, this year, our 2022 shoebox campaign, we plan to send 2/3 of all shoeboxes packed in the UK to Ukraine and neighbouring countries like Moldova and Romania, which are housing many Ukrainian refugee families at this time. So we thank God for churches like Holy Trinity Church here in Wallington, who partner with Samaritan's Purse and Operation Christmas Child to demonstrate God's love around this world, one seed at a time. So let me conclude by showing you one final video about Operation Christmas Child, where you can see with your own eyes in the video the joy that a shoebox gift can bring to a child who receives one. So let's watch that final video now. Thank you.
3, 2, 1!
And when those lids come off those boxes, you've never seen such pure joy.
This is amazing. As you can see, the children's faces, they're excited as they open up the gifts for the first time.
What makes the gifts more than just gifts is the message that comes with the gift. This is the opportunity for a child to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ.
The mission of Operation Christmas Child never changes. Children are coming to Jesus, and children are taking the gospel to the ends of the earth.
Millions of children around the world are being impacted by these simple shoebox gifts. One box can touch not just a child, but your whole family. So we need to keep packing those boxes and pray for the children that God will use this in a very special way. So thank you for being a part of it. God bless you.